Ever wondered why your lotion still has to play squeeze and pray at security? What if one day you could slide through without that flimsy quart bag, and maybe even leave your shoes on? Buckle up, because 2025 might be the year travel gets seriously shaken up. Let me guide you through what's really changing and what's not when you fly in 2025. No fluff, just the facts, and yes, it's all real. The 311 rule still defines travel. For nearly 2 decades, the infamous 311 liquids rule has shaped how Americans fly. Introduced in 2006, it came after a UK terror plot where attackers planned to disguise liquid explosives inside soft drink bottles. Overnight, airports around the world adopted restrictions that passengers know all too well today. You're allowed bottles no larger than 3.4 ounces, all fitting into a single quart-sized clear bag, and limited to 1 bag per traveler. It applied to everything from shampoo and lotion to gels, pastes, and even aerosols. While many travelers have memorized the rule, it has also been the most criticized security measure, with people questioning whether a single ounce over the limit could really endanger a plane. Why the shift is finally happening? The truth is, the rule didn't last this long because it worked perfectly. It lasted because technology couldn't do any better. The old X-ray scanners airports relied on for decades simply weren't advanced enough to scan through liquid-filled bottles. Security officers saw only flat two-dimensional images, and there was no way to distinguish water from a dangerous chemical cocktail. But in 2025, that's no longer the case. TSA has begun deploying computed tomography, or CT scanners, that provide officers with three-dimensional, 360-degree images of each bag. Instead of guessing, they can rotate the view, slice through layers digitally, and even run algorithms that analyze the density of a liquid. That means they can tell the difference between a soda, a bottle of baby formula, and a disguised explosive. Where the rollout stands in 2025. Here's where things get complicated. The 311 rule is still officially in place for most airports across the United States as of September 2025. While Europe has already started phasing out liquid restrictions at several major airports, the US is taking a slower approach. The TSA's rollout depends on installing CT scanners at checkpoints, and that happens one terminal at a time, airport by airport. For now, you might walk through a new checkpoint at one gate where you don't have to remove liquids or laptops, then arrive at another gate on your return flight where the old 311 rule is still enforced. That inconsistency is confusing, and it's exactly why TSA urges passengers to still travel with small containers until the rollout is complete. Shoe removal ends nationwide. If liquids are still in limbo, at least one big change is official. As of July 8, 2025, passengers no longer have to remove their shoes during screening. This policy traces back to 2001, when Richard Reed, known as the shoe bomber, tried to detonate explosives hidden in his footwear. For over 20 years, Americans had to shuffle through security lines barefoot, a rule often mocked but strictly enforced. Now, with CT scanners and explosive detection upgrades, TSA says shoe removal is a thing of the past. That single change is expected to save millions of hours annually for travelers and officers alike. The real ID deadline finally arrives. Another milestone hit this year was the Real ID enforcement deadline on May 7, 2025. After years of delays, every traveler age 18 and older now needs either a Real ID-compliant driver's license or another approved form of identification, like a passport or military ID, to board domestic flights. Standard state driver's licenses without the compliance star are no longer valid at airports. Unlike previous postponements, this time there is no grace period, and security officers have been turning away passengers who show up unprepared. According to TSA data, the first month of enforcement saw tens of thousands of people denied boarding because they didn't upgrade their ID in time. What travelers should do right now. For passengers in 2025, the #1 rule is simple. Check before you fly. Because CT scanners aren't everywhere yet, rules differ depending on which airport you use. The TSA website has a "What can I bring" tool that gives up-to-date guidance, and many airports post updates on their own websites and apps. Travelers are also advised to continue carrying liquids in travel-sized containers, at least until CT scanners are more widely deployed. Packing smart has never been more important. Using packing cubes, keeping electronics easy to remove, and storing essentials in a way that won't trigger additional checks can save valuable time. For those who want to skip the hassle, TSA PreCheck is still one of the best options. While it doesn't eliminate the liquids rule, PreCheck lanes often adopt new technology first and already allow passengers to leave shoes, belts, and laptops in their bags. The long-term vision of TSA. Looking ahead, TSA officials are clear about their ultimate goal, a faster, less invasive checkpoint where passengers barely slow down on their way to the gate. Imagine walking through a screening portal that verifies your ID through facial recognition, scans your bag with CT technology, and clears you in seconds without unpacking anything. That vision isn't science fiction. It's already being piloted at select airports. Over time, separating liquids and electronics, or even taking off shoes and jackets, will become memories of a less efficient past. But getting there depends on federal funding, installation schedules, and training thousands of officers nationwide. Why it matters for the future of travel. The debate over TSA rules has always been about striking a balance between safety and convenience. For years, critics argued that the 311 liquids rule caused more frustration than it prevented threats. With new scanners, the agency hopes to prove that security can be both effective and passenger-friendly. Removing outdated rules like shoe checks shows progress is possible, but the staggered rollout of liquid screening reminds travelers that change takes time. The next few years will determine whether America can fully modernize its checkpoints to match advances seen abroad, or whether travelers will still face outdated restrictions well into the 2030s. The global context. It's worth noting that the United States isn't moving alone. The European Union has already begun removing liquid restrictions at airports equipped with CT scanners, and the UK officially lifted its 100-milliliter rule at several airports in mid-2024. That puts pressure on the US to modernize quickly, since international travelers now experience very different rules depending on where they fly. Industry analysts warn that if the US doesn't catch up soon, airports could lose efficiency and competitiveness compared to European hubs. Traveler stories in 2025. Ask any frequent flyer, and they'll tell you the uncertainty is the hardest part. Imagine flying from New York to London where you can carry a full water bottle through security, then landing back at JFK where you're forced to toss it at the checkpoint. Parents carrying baby formula or passengers with medical liquids face even greater challenges when rules shift from airport to airport. Social media has been full of viral posts this summer, showing travelers surprised by inconsistent enforcement, proving just how much confusion still exists. That's the key point travelers must remember in 2025. These changes aren't happening all at once. The liquids rule isn't gone nationwide, even though CT scanners make it possible to remove it eventually. Shoe removal is officially over, but ID enforcement is stricter than ever. Every passenger needs to adapt, stay informed, and plan for a travel environment that's in transition. And that's the scoop on TSA's 2025 security shakeup. Liquids are still a pain, shoes are finally staying on, and your ID just got a whole lot more important. Drop your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. See you at the gate.